Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're going to get started. We're going to give everybody just a few more seconds just in case we do have some other folks, but thanks for joining us. We have 5 on so far, so it's a small but powerful group. If we don't have a lot of folks, that's perfectly fine. We'll talk about what you guys want. All right, so we'll give everybody just a few more seconds. All right, Andrew, whenever you're ready, I'm ready to begin.
All right, thank you so much, Shawn. Thanks everyone for joining us for today's webinar. We're very happy to have you. My name is Andrew Francis, and I'm the Director of Evaluation Services here at Foundations, Inc. And we want to welcome you to the Beyond the Conference webinar series. And today we have with us Shawn Petty, and Shawn is our Perspectives from the Field show host. And we're so happy to have Shawn and looking forward to all that we'll be going through during today's webinar. So just before we get into the meat of the matter for today, I'd like to share a little bit about Foundations, Inc. We are a national not-for-profit education nonprofit actually in Laurel, New Jersey. And our mission is to improve the quality of education by building the skills of educators. And we work across the school day with after-school programs, school districts and states, to create a brighter future for every child every day. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Foundations, you can follow us on social media, and I'm going to drop that info in the chat for you, so you're able to know exactly where to go to get more details about our organization and what we do. And some of you may already know that we are also the host of what we call our flagship professional development program or conference actually for out of school time, and that's the Beyond School Hours Conference. It's our signature professional learning experience, and that will be held in 2025. It's always in February, in Orlando, Florida, from February 13th to 16th. So good for many of us to head over to warmer climate, for those of us who don't have that typically throughout the year, and to have fun, but also be in a learning environment as well, where we can really sharpen our skills, but also meet and network with people who are making changes in this field across the country, but also across the world. We'd love to have you as our guest. Registration is already open. And so you can click the link I dropped in the chat, and you can definitely check out all the details there about the strands and activities that we'll be offering at BSH 2025. Just to know that this webinar is being recorded, and it will be archived on our website and also on YouTube. So you'll be able to go back and access it at a later date. And so with that said, let me hand you over to Shawn, our Perspectives from the Field show host. Hey, Shawn, over to you.
Hey, Andrew, thank you. Appreciate it so much. Making sure you can hear me and that you see the slides. All right, getting the thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We are a small group. There's only about 6 of us, and then Andrew and I, so 8 of us total right now. We may get some more, we may not, and that's perfectly fine. I would like to capture your attention for at least the next 45 minutes as we talk about AI. So in today's show, we were supposed to interview AJ, who was one of our guests at the live show during Beyond School Hours 2024. However, unfortunately, he has caught COVID. And so he is coughing like crazy, and he is so disappointed. He's like, I can come in and just be in the chat. But we thought we would give AJ this day off since he is ill and trying to get better. And we will go ahead and run this without him, and he'll join us for the next show. So we'll tell you more about that in just a second. But we're still going to focus on artificial intelligence and how you can use it in the field, or use it with your work, or just get to know a little bit about artificial intelligence. But before I begin, let me go ahead and first jump over to this slide. and give a special thank you to the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. The Charles Stewart Mott Foundation is our sponsor, and they basically sponsor the show. They do so much for the field of after school and education and the state of the United States overall, just general youth development programs overall. The Mott Foundation's there, and they do a lot of support for us, and we really do appreciate all that they do. As Andrew mentioned, we have an amazing conference coming up in February in a beautiful area that I know really well, Orlando, Florida. We're going back to the Rosen Center, which is an amazing hotel right there and right off of International Drive. And look at the keynote speakers that have been announced already. Arnie Duncan, who was the Secretary of Education from 2009 to 2016 during the President Barack Obama's administration. He is going to be the opening keynote speaker, so you definitely don't want to miss that. And then we have Kaylin Moore, who is a Rhodes Scholar, an amazing poet, an author, a sociologist. So lots of great speakers and great things happening. You can get the early bird rate for Beyond School Hours if you like by scanning that QR tag, and the early bird rate's good until October. So join us there. We'll also be doing a live version of Perspectives from the Field from the conference, so I hope you'll join us there. All right, but let's dig into what you want to know. So as there's only a few of us here, and I actually know most of you, it's really good. I see Danielle is here. Karen Wolf, my colleague here, is on. Kathleen Bethke, who we all know, who has been such a force in the after-school field for 20, 30 years. Goodness gracious, Kathleen, I don't even know how long it's been. I see Lindsay, Stephanie, and Tasha. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you all. If you would like to speak or ask a question or talk or interact, let us know. We'll go ahead. We're trying this webinar functionality, but we do have the ability to go ahead and open up some things for you to interact if you would prefer, or you can just listen in, whatever you would choose to do. If you have questions, comments, or thoughts, please put them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll go ahead and address. But today we're going to chat about artificial intelligence. And our goal with this, or what we're trying to do with artificial intelligence, is really understand how we can utilize this amazing tool with kids. So the question I always get is where to start. So I'm going to toss it out to you, and I'd ask you to throw in the chat. When you throw it in the chat, put it to everyone. But can I ask you guys, what do you want to know about artificial intelligence? What is it? It can be any question, doesn't matter what it is. What would you like to know in the next 45 minutes that we can share about the evolution of AI or how things are going? If you go ahead and throw that in the chat, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll keep moving. As you're thinking of that, though, okay. It looks like our chat may be disabled, so I apologize about that. I'm wondering, Andrew, is there a possibility to throw up a either to open up the chat or to throw up a Q&A so that folks can throw their questions in? Or if you would like to raise your hand, I can go ahead and put you on.
We also have a Q&A option that person should be able to also drop their questions there, so they can go ahead and drop that there, and I can pass them over to you as well. All right.
Perfect. All right. So I apologize about that. I'm still getting used to the webinar function versus the meeting function of Zoom. But if you do have a question or you want to throw out your comments, if you could put them in the Q&A section, Andrew will toss those over to me and I'll work those into our conversation here. But let's dig into a little bit about AI history. A lot of people think that AI is like something new and just happened. But in reality, artificial intelligence has actually been around for quite some time. If you look at the chart that we have up here, this is based on Narayan Siva, who's the head of corporate skill training at MechSavvy. He posted an article on LinkedIn back in 2019 that included this graphic. And it was an amazing graphic that really tells you a little bit about AI and the history. So artificial intelligence was actually penned, the name was coined at a Dartmouth conference in 1956. So, and it was really talking about how robots and computers could mimic human intelligence. And that's exactly what it was. It was a mimicking of human intelligence. And we see this happening today in things like Alexa or Siri, or we used to play games. I don't know if you ever had spell check or spell connect when you were a kid, but you would post in something and it would post something back to you. That's kind of what artificial intelligence started back in the 1950s. And then in 1957, Frank Rosenblatt created an algorithm that allowed artificial intelligence to really boost ahead. And what that algorithm did is it started teaching computers, as they were developing, to start teaching themselves. And it was called machine learning. And machine learning really, really became a big thing in the 1980s. A lot of people know about IBM's Deep Blue or Watson. Deep Blue actually won a chess match against the world's chess champion. And then it evolved into Watson, which actually won Jeopardy against human competitors in 2011. So this evolution of AI was a machine learning. And this was when people started to get scared of AI. We started seeing movies like The Terminator. We started seeing all these, The Matrix came out, and it was like computers are learning and they're going to take over the world. We've kind of evolved past that, and we've gone into something called deep learning. And this is where we are today. And this actually was made front stage in 2020 when OpenAI released what we know as ChatGPT. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformers. And it's basically a language model. It's a database. And that language model takes what we program into it, utilizing machine learning and artificial intelligence, and it pumps it back to us. And that was made real popular by OpenAI. And now it is going at a pace faster than Moore's Law. Moore's Law is something where we say the computer chips inside of a computer shrink every 18 months. And we're discovering that AI is actually doing the same thing. By shrinking computer chips, we're increasing computer power every 18 months. AI is actually improving itself every 3 months. So you can imagine the evolution of AI and how it's actually taking place. So who cares? So why is this important, and why should we talk to our kids about it? Why should we bring this into after school? Why should we think about this in education? Well, if you look at history, we are in something called the fourth industrial revolution. If you think about the first industrial revolution, that's when we created the wheel, right? And then we had the print machine or the copy machine where we actually could create books. And then from there, we had steam engines. And then we had the third revolution come around, and that's called the service industry, where we started focusing on service. And now we're in this fourth industrial revolution where we're discovering that it's not so much how much we know, but it's how we utilize the tools that we develop. And that's kind of the evolution of society. And what we're finding is that if we stay in our traditional method of education and we stay in our old mindset, we're not going to evolve as society does. So some aspects of the fourth industrial revolution are artificial intelligence and robotics, quantum computing. Quantum computing is where we start calculating algorithms on an atomic scale. Blockchain. Blockchain is where we use digital codes basically to encrypt data, protect data, and actually to replace the old binary formats that we've been using in the past. Spatial web and Web 3.0. This is, if you've ever seen some of the movies with virtual reality, that's what the spatial web is. We're starting to look at no longer looking at a screen and a camera like I am right now, but actually utilizing your Oculus headset or your virtual headset and immersing yourself in a virtual world. Biotech and genetics is another aspect of the fourth industrial revolution, We're starting to focus on nanobots that can actually go into people's body and actually cure or tackle things like cancer, or creating nanobots that can do generative tissue restoration, which is much better than any Botox. We can have nanobots keep us beautiful instead of injecting ourselves with things like that. We're also looking at manipulating genetics. Right or wrong, these are technologies coming out of the fourth industrial revolution. And then one thing that's going to transform the world that we're just starting to really dig into, but it's been around for a while, is nuclear fusion. The idea of perpetual energy, getting us off of the oil energy current status and going into an unlimited energy structure, which would change the economy of the world. All of this is being guided by the embedding of artificial intelligence. So how is this impacting educational systems that we know of? Well, let's take a theory, and this is something that AJ and I were going to talk about in the show, so I'm glad that I can bring it up, and AJ will follow up in the next show we have. But let's think about our education system. Teachers on average across the United States get paid anywhere from $37,000 a year to upwards of $100,000 depending on your locale. The longer you remain a teacher, the more money you get, just like any career field. But if we look at the cost of teachers, we're expecting teachers to be subject matter experts in a topic. So we're telling a teacher, we're paying a teacher $40,000, $50,000 a year to be a subject matter expert in biology. But we're paying a biologist who actually goes out and does marine biology, or one that does genetic transfer. We're paying them upwards of $100,000 or more. So what we're discovering is individuals who really focus as subject matter experts are leaving the field of education to go into other fields that are more lucrative, that pay them a little better, give them the time to do research. Whereas we've all been teachers, or we've all worked in education for some time. You know how it is. We basically go to the classroom. We may have 6 periods, or in after school, we may start right at 2:30 and go till 6:30, and we are busy from the minute we hit the ground to the minute we close our doors. And then teachers have grading, they have lesson planning, after school folks have, family engagement activities, outreach, planning for the next day, limited resources, limited time. We're basically paying subject matter experts to train the next generation of students at a rate that is less than we pay professionals in the field. This creates an inequity, meaning that our really talented and super talented folks, if they are not super passionate and saying, I want to dedicate my life to this for no matter what the cost, they move on to other fields. When that happens, we run into what we're having now: teacher shortages, teacher burnout, individuals who are brought in without a deep knowledge of the topic they're teaching, with just a shallow knowledge. So we have to create tools and systems for them to be able to be effective. And we do this because of the economic base. If we paid every teacher $200,000, it would break the local economy, because our economies of paying teachers are based on property taxes. Imagine for a second, though, that the teacher had assistants in the classroom, or that an after-school professional had assistants. And imagine if that assistance came in the area of artificial intelligence. What if we had an artificial intelligence system that could measure a student's adaptability to learning? So for example, I'm going to pick on Kathleen. She can't come. Unfortunately, I can't see you, Kat. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to call on you, or I'm going to call you out here since I know you really well. Kathleen is a skilled instructional designer. She has done after school and education for more than 25 years. She has a lot of subject knowledge. Imagine if we captured all of Kathleen's knowledge and we programmed it into an AI, and we're not replacing Kathleen. Instead, we're allowing that AI to measure where Kathleen is and go ahead and figure out Kathleen's next evolution of learning. So Kathleen's already a skilled professional, but maybe she needs to make to the next level of a national super expert or super expert in her field. The AI would measure that and modify courses and modify learning for her so that she could reach that. Now imagine if you had a student who was really good at geometry, but not good at reading. An AI could measure that student's ability and cater the curriculum for that student individually. What this does is turn the learning or the teaching in a classroom into something that an AI can facilitate. So where does the teacher come in? The teacher now becomes more of a facilitator, more of a team leader, more of a guide. The computer, through artificial intelligence systems, is actually instructing a child, and the teacher comes in and helps bridge that gap into humanity. And we call it human intelligence. If that was the case, we have the ability to up the ratio. So imagine in an education classroom or an after-school program, if your mandatory ratio is 1 to 15, that's the amount of students you have. And that's all you can manage, 1 to 15, from an instructional capacity. But imagine if the computer, through an artificial intelligence, can up that ratio to 1 to 30. Maybe you have 30 students who could be learning from a computer artificial intelligence system with one subject matter expert managing all 30. Theory says you might be able to double that subject matter expert's salary because they're covering double the amount of students. So this is just one example of how AI can have an impact to education. It could help lower ratios. It can help create adaptive learning, one-on-one learning. There's a lot of things. We have to be careful though, because one of the polarizing aspects of AI is it has the ability to further the inequity gap. We want to make sure that AI is available to all and being able to be utilized by all, rather than the haves versus the have-nots. I'm going to speak to that in just a little bit. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A, or thoughts, you could put that in the Q&A too. When most people think about AI, they're usually picturing something called generative AI. Generative AI is the most visible AI, and the one that's talked about in all the news broadcasts. And when somebody's thinking about AI, this is what they're thinking about. They're thinking about generative AI. Generative AI is basically a branch of artificial intelligence that creates new content. This can be text, images, code. It's all generated based on user prompts. So you prompt a generative AI engine to do something, and it pumps something back out. It is utilizing a process called deep learning. And basically, what that means is that someone programmed this model, this algorithm, with deep data sets. So they took a lot of data. Maybe they took the encyclopedia. Maybe they took a lot of material off of YouTube. Maybe they took all the trainings that Foundations has ever done, and they put it all into a database. And then the algorithm learns from itself by scanning the database, and you interact with it. And it starts to mimic the way humans interact. And if you give it enough of substantial data sets, it can even start to create new content that has never been thought of before or never been considered. The most popular generative AI models out there are ChatGPT. That's the one everybody knows. But there are a lot of others. Microsoft Copilot uses ChatGPT as its engine, but it's another AI model. You might have heard of Google's Bard, which has evolved into Gemini, now coming on every Pixel phone or every new phone that Google publishes. Apple has released that they're going to do an Apple AI, and it's not going to be Siri. It's going to be a brand new AI system. Some other popular generative AIs that you may have heard of. You may have heard of DALL-E, which generates images. You may have heard of Art AI or ArtSpace. So these are others. Sora, excuse me, is a video generated. InVision is another vision. And so as these come out, we're starting to have a lot of questions. And actually in the chat right now, I'm going to go ahead and answer this live. But in the chat, is there any research on the lack of human interaction, how that could impact students? Absolutely. We're seeing, I don't have any of the articles here with me, but there is a movement called the Human Intelligence Movement that's put on by a company called ProSolve, and a wonderful lady named Michelle Emmett is kind of guiding that work. But they have gathered on LinkedIn a ton of research articles that are talking about when people become solely reliant upon AI, how that's affecting students. The research starts with social media, students who are really captured in, videos, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and others, how that's impacting students, and how, because they're getting caught up into screens and not interacting with other human beings, how they have a tough time sometimes. And this was exacerbated. This was, what's the right word? It was made worse, I guess you could say, by the pandemic. Because when the pandemic hit, that's pretty much where people relied on. We all relied on screens. We all relied on technology. And so the research is demonstrating that if you basically let your kids, you sit them down in front of a computer, you let them interact with an AI, they start feeling more comfortable with that AI or with that technology than they do actually talking to the other person, and actually being out in public or talking to other students or interacting with other students is creating a significant anxiety, where students are actually feel anxious when they're meeting with other people in a large room or in a setting that they're not comfortable with. So one of the ways that this is being tackled by those using generative AI is to embed AI into human interactions. So it's things like, utilizing generative AI as a team. So getting a team of students utilizing something like ChatGPT to create fiction stories, getting a group of kids together to generate images together and then discuss them. And a big thing, and this is something I know that Kathleen and a few others on the line have some really good experience. I know Daniel has some experience with this as well. But project-based learning techniques, utilizing project-based learning integrated with generative AI can be a great way to ensure that students are interacting and will overcome. A lot of people are taking the tactic that we need downtime away from technology. And there are two forms of thoughts on that. Number one, yes, put your phones in a basket when you have family dinner. Put your phones away when you're talking to someone. Only limit your students to having a certain amount of time on the computer. That's one method of thought. Another thought is to start integrating technology into our lives as if it were another aspect or another arm. I think of it like our iPhones. I don't know about you, but when I go anywhere, I bring my iPhone everywhere, or my smartphone. I bring it everywhere. It's almost like a part of me. It's almost like a part of my body, which is kind of crazy to think about. But like, I can't leave somewhere. If I left my phone at the theater or something, I would go back and get it, like, because that's how adamant people carry their phones with them everywhere, to the bathroom, to their bed, to the grocery store. You can't leave your phone. And so you can think about it like that, like how can you make it part of your life and evolve into a new norm, or do we fight it by knocking it off? Two forms of thought. It would be interesting to discuss that further, as we continue. Great question, by the way. As we look, though, at the evolution of AI, and we start really to explore where AI is going and what's happening, what we're looking at is the difference in modalities. And what do I mean by that? Well, when ChatGPT was first launched in 2020, AI primarily was a single data modality. What does that mean? It means it used one method of communicating. And in ChatGPT's way, it was text. So you would put something in, you would be like, hi, I'm Shawn, I'm this old, I'm this ethnicity, I'm this gender, I'm excited about soccer, and the model would pitch back and be like, hi, Shawn, it's nice to meet you. What do you know about soccer? And you could start communicating with ChatGPT like that. However, now we're talking about this multimodal system where we're blending, as you can see in the graphic, we're blending images, text, sound, and video all into one system. And Google and others, Microsoft, are doing significant research around this. And in the slide deck, which will be shared with everybody, I have links directly to this research where you can see what's going on. You can ask Google, you can go to Gemini, or you can go to Microsoft Copilot, or you can go to ChatGPT or Claude, and you can start to throw in things like, I need a data chart that explains this. So you're putting in text, it's going to pump out an image. You need to be like, okay, that's great image, but can you also give me some theme music as people watch this image? And it will actually create music for you to go along with that. And you can say, this is great, but I really want a 30-second video that highlights this topic. So one system can now create images, text, sound, and video. And it can embed it all in one. So this brings up some other things that are concerning, and that's privacy laws and copyrighted material or intellectual property. You've probably been reading or seeing on the news a lot about watermarking. So the technology is out there right now for ChatGPT, Claude, Dolly, and others to start to watermark the items they create. So what does that mean? That means when a student has an essay, so I assigned Andrew an essay and I'm like, Andrew, I want you to write about this. And Andrew's like, okay. And he's like, I don't really have time for this. I'm just going to go in and ask ChatGPT to write it for me. So he goes to ChatGPT and he says, hey, write me a 350-word article about the US involvement in World War I. And ChatGPT plugs out a 350-word article. A lot of students will just copy that article, put it on a piece of paper, and turn it in. Well, what we're seeing now is some of the text models, the language learning models, are starting to embed watermarks into that language, so that then a teacher can scan it and say, okay, you used ChatGPT to develop this. Or an image. If we made an image, this is happening right now with the presidential election. There are a lot of images coming out about the campaigns and everything. You don't know what's real, what's not. You think you do because a lot of people say that generative AI creates kind of a shine or a glossy look to images. But some of the images are actually very, very realistic. And so when you look at it, you're like, how can this politician be over in San Francisco when I just watched them in Minnesota, and they were there at the same time? Well, it's because someone did a fake image or a deep fake of an image. And so what generative AI models are starting to do, they're starting to watermark those images so that now you can look at a special part of that image and that was created by generative AI. This will be important with video, because with video, it's hard to tell, and we use video a lot in a lot of our criminal detective work and a lot of our research work. And with watermarks, we'll be able to protect that. So that's all coming from this multimodal system. All right. I'm going to give some research or some articles out here because, I've given a lot of history about it, but let's actually see this in practice. So before I jump over to this, I'm going to throw in the chat. I'm hoping these will upload to everybody. Let's see here. All right. Sam Piha and Temascal Associates went ahead and did a paper on how to use AI in education, and particularly in after school. So I put that in the chat. I'm hoping that everybody can download that and see that. And then one of the number one requests I always get is, thank you for telling us all this info, but we actually want to know how we can prompt things. Well, let me give you a prompt sheet as well. So I just threw into the chat this prompt article, and I'm going to throw in another prompt article for you. Let's see here. There it goes. Okay, you're not seeing it. I see, I did have someone share that they're not coming out to everybody. Okay, but then it came back. So a few people are seeing it. What I've thrown in there is a briefing paper. And so I'll jump out of my presentation and actually show you. So I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second. I'm going to go over to my companion screen. All right, so now you should see Adobe Firefly, and I'm going to show you what I just put up. So I shared with everybody in the chat this article or this document. This is learning about AI, artificial intelligence, and after school. This is by Sam Piha and Associates. And I also showed this one, Unlocking the Potential of ChatGPT. And this tells you how to use prompt secrets, how to advance your prompting technique. This doesn't just have to be ChatGPT. It can be any language learning model or anything like ChatGPT. You'll be able to utilize it. And then I also threw in chat this prompt engineering guide by Julian Melson and Benza Maimon that also talks about simple prompt starters, everyday prompts, some frameworks. So if we go down and we look at some of this, this is an example. How do you prime things? So you could type into ChatGPT or Claude or any engine, and you could say, like, where should I go on my next vacation? And if you just put that in, you're just like, where do I go on my next vacation? It's going to put something generic out there. It's going to be like, you should go to the Maldives. Well, maybe you don't want to go to the Maldives. So, and let me just make sure, Yana or Andrew, can you guys see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure. Sorry. But what you want to do is you want to prime your prompt when you actually do a prompt. So you want to ask it something like, I'd like to go on a trip with my wife and kids. The location should be tropical. We love to be close to the beach. You think by saying tropical, that would be self-explanatory, but you want to give it more information. We always say garbage in, garbage out, great things in, great things out. If you program or if you put in the data, that's like, if you put in data, that's like garbage, you're going to get garbage. If you put in data that's amazing, you're going to get amazing results. So you want to make sure that what you prompted is good. So you don't just say that the location should be tropical, because it may choose like Ecuador in the middle of it. So you might want to say, we'd love to be close to the beach. We'd like to take a flight that's direct from LAX. Our budget is $5,000. Where should we go? And then when you do that, it comes back and it says, okay, well, we could take you to Cancun. Direct flights are available. You can do these activities. Without priming, it does this. It may say, or you could do it without priming by saying, create 3 potential titles for my new online course that teaches how to use AI. And it will throw something out. But then if you put priming in there, create 3 potential titles for my new online course that teaches how to use AI. Here's an example of some course titles I've had. Can you emulate my writing style and my written format? So edit, here's the titles, and then it pumps it out just like you want. So this is a way that you can prime, and I put that. Here's some prompt starters, define the following term and give a metaphor, elaborate on the purpose, explain the concept of, create an opening scene for a video, etc. So this is a great engine and guide for you to utilize, but let's actually do it. So let's jump into ChatGPT. So this is not the ChatGPT 4.0. This is 3.5. This is the free version that you can get. It's got some limitations to it, but it's pretty rigorous. So I'm going to ask a volunteer, and I'm going to ask from my colleagues here at Foundations, either Yana or Andrew. Would one of you want to be my volunteer to help me out here?
No problem.
Okay,
Oh.
perfect. Well, we'll have you do it, Andrew. Okay, here's the situation. It's 4 o'clock on Monday, and you get a call from your boss. And you're told that you have to go train a group of after-school professionals tomorrow by noon. So my question to you is, what's going to be the topic of your presentation?
Okay, we're talking about project-based learning.
Could be. It's up to you. So you have to train a group of after-school professionals. What do you think they want to be trained on, and what topic would you like to focus on?
Let's talk about creating effective driving questions as part of PBL.
Okay. So in ChatGPT, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, okay, if they ever do take over the world, I want to treat them nicely so they remember that I was nice to them. So I actually speak to ChatGPT like it's a person. So I'm like, hi, ChatGPT. How are you? You don't have to do this. This is just me. My name is Andrew, and I have been tasked with developing how long should your training be, Andrew? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 45 minutes?
Let's say 1 hour.
A 1 hour live, online, what do you think? Hybrid?
It's going to be hybrid.
A 1 hour hybrid, virtual and in person, training for after school professionals around project-based learning. Can you help me? So we're just going to do real generic there. This is kind of a simple prompt. Let's see what it says. Most of us have done this already. They say that 85% of people are actually utilizing language models to do their work now. Everybody. So there are 15% of the world that's not. Hi, Andrew. I'd be happy to help. To get started, could you provide a bit more detail on what you want to cover? Are there certain aspects you'd want? Are there goals? This will help me. All right, so let's start answering. So you said key questions, or?
Yeah. How can we help students to create effective driving questions?
Driving questions. This is the main concept you want. I want to train on. All right, let's see. Is there any specific goals that you want? Like at the end of it, like a learning objective at the very end, or do we want to ask it to create that for us?
We could ask it to create it for us and see what comes up, and we can always refine from there.
Okay. Would you be able to help me organize this quick 1 hour training and help develop 1 to 2 effective learning objectives that I can focus on. Let's see what it says. All right, so certainly here's a basic outline for your 1 hour. So it's jumping right into, okay, we're going to go ahead. So it's saying in the first 10 minutes, here's your purpose, your activity, and your outcomes. So you explain the importance of driving questions in PBL. You do a quick poll, get their current understanding. Your outcome is that you want to find out what a driving question is and why it's crucial in PBL. And then the next 15 minutes, you talk about your content's going to be what makes a driving question effective. And it goes through that. It shares what your outcome is. The next 20 minutes, it says that, and then let's see, it gives you 10 to 15 minutes reflection and Q&A, and it gives you some learning objectives. By the end of this training, participants will be able to identify the key characteristics of an effective driving question, and by the end of this training, participants will be able to construct a driving question that is open-ended, engaging, and aligned with educational goals. All right, so this is great. What else is there? What else would you want it to help you with? Is that enough for you to start building your training, or do we need some more? What do you think, Andrew?
I think that's good. The only thing I'd probably ask to probe if I'm someone who doesn't necessarily have the background knowledge or experience, I'd probably ask it to give me an example of what a driving question could be that I could also use to, to assess what the participants will produce during the training, and to guide them as well in improving their abilities in doing that as well.
Okay, so we could say, so while I'm trained in PBL, it has been some time. Would you help me by giving an example of a driving question? Are there any images that I should use or create? Would you be able to help me? All right, let's see what it says. All right, let's start with an example. Environmental science driving question, how can our community reduce its carbon footprint while still supporting local businesses? And it tells you a little bit about why this question. It's open-ended, it's engaging, aligned with learning goals, and challenging. And it gives you some examples of some visual aids. Visuals can be powerful in this training. Here are some examples: a diagram of a driving question, a comparison chart, a flow chart. Okay, so Kathleen has thrown in the chat something, so I'm going to take verbatim what she put in. Let's see, can they provide some examples? Let's find out and write a DQ. I could say this: I shared this with my boss, and they asked this question: can you address? Let's see what it says. Here's some examples. So it talks about a question sorting activity, an outcome, a reverse engineering activity. You start with a broad topic, a question ladder. So this is just one example. Thank you, Andrew, for participating, and Kathleen and everybody else who kind of participated. So now you can take these and you can start to develop. And then when you're looking at your actual imagery, if you have ChatGPT 4.0, which is the paid version, it's $20 a month, you can start to generate Dolly images. But let's say you don't. You're like me and you're on a Shawn Petty sending his oldest daughter to college budget, right? Which means I have no money. So I'm going to go over to Bing. I'm just going to go to bing.com, which I use all the time. So I think it's in my profile. There it is. And when you go to Bing, you can ask it a question, and you can go to something called Copilot. Copilot is, you can see I actually have a lot of questions that I ask Copilot all the time. Copilot is Microsoft's kind of AI, and it is free if you have, if you utilize Bing or you utilize Microsoft 365, it's free. If you don't utilize Bing or Microsoft 365, it has a tiered limit, like it will allow it but not allow it. And so I see, Yolanda, that some of the PDFs are struggling getting to you. We'll post those for you so that you can have those and get those out to you after the webinar is over. So don't worry, we'll get them to you, we promise. But you can actually ask Copilot. Most people just ask Copilot things like, what should I make for dinner? Right? And then that's a very simple prompt, and it starts giving you ideas. It has no idea what I like. It just starts throwing out ideas, right? But you can also ask Copilot to develop something. So you can say, I am teaching a PBL class to after school professionals. Will you generate an image of the classroom for my PowerPoint? It needs to have a diverse representation of participants who are adult learners, let's just say. Let's see what it comes up with. So it says, I'll try to create that. And so now it's thinking, and it starts to generate, hopefully, it'll start to generate that image. So now you can start to see, let's bring this up and look at it a little bigger. So this is, we can make it landscape. And you can see it's powered by DALL-E. So it's powered by the same program that ChatGPT utilizes. So now it's formatting it in this style. And you even have, if you notice I double clicked it, you even have the ability to select sections of it, and you can blur sections. You can request a different color to pop out. So you can actually start to edit the image right here in Copilot. But if you wanted to get even further, you could go to something called Adobe Firefly. It's Firefly Adobe right here. You could actually go to Firefly, and right now this is free. Or you could go to something called Midjourney, and you can program things in here too, and you can generate all kinds of images. You can do text to image. That's where you put text in there and it generates an image. Or you can upload an image and automatically remove things like, if you ever wanted to, like, Andrew's a pretty stylish guy, so he may want to see how different color shirts look on him. So he could take a snapshot, or I could take a snapshot of Andrew right now, put him in Adobe Firefly, remove his shirt just like they're doing here, and I can put different shirts on him, You can also create templates. Like, let's say you also have to do a flyer for tomorrow's training around PBL. You could go in here and create a template. It'll generate it for you. And it generates it in vector format. And vector format means that you can download these images and resize them to any size no matter what. So Adobe Firefly will allow you to do something very different. So you could put something in here like, generate a dancing cat at the Olympics for the breakdance competition. The cat is Australian. So now again, it's going to pump out. I don't know what it's going to pump out. It could pump out anything. And sometimes it pumps out some pretty crazy things. So here you go. Here's our cat. So this is a cat at the Olympics. The cat's Australian. Don't know how we know that, but apparently this is how it interpreted it. And the cat is, let's say, give the cat a bandana. A bandana. Bandana. There you go. Give the cat a bandana on his face close up. See, it'll even give you prompts for you to do your own image. Let's see what it does. And we have 4 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I just want to show this one image to you. Here we go. There you go. So now the cat has a bandana, but it took away the dancing aspect because I didn't say it was dancing. So you can see, and these are pretty realistic kitties there, you know, like if you think about it. So there's a lot that you can do with generative AI, and you can imagine how you can use this with students. Some other things I'll show you one more. This is Claude. Claude is, you can tell I use it a lot. It's like, good morning, Shawn. Claude has the ability to do like Excel formulas, same thing that ChatGPT. But what I like about Claude is you can actually upload documents into Claude. So let's say your boss comes to you, Andrew, and gives you 5 PDFs that your boss wants you to summarize into tomorrow's training. And you're like, I'm off at 1 o'clock. What are you talking about? Like, I have no time to do this. You can literally drag the PDF. So I'm dragging this prompt chat. You can drag it in here. It'll upload it. And then you can ask it a question like, generate a training based on the article I just uploaded about prompt engineering. And it's got 872 lines in that article. And it goes through it, and now it's generating an outline of the training based on that content. It has reviewed the content for me, so I don't have to. And now it's pumping out how this training would be. So I like Claude because Claude does really good analysis of PDFs or of articles. So if you use Claude, ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and Adobe Firefly, you have right there 4 tools that are low cost or free that you can generate trainings, lesson plans, get kids engaged in. You can do so much. So as I wrap up today's training, because I have like a minute and I didn't think I would even have this, so I'm so sorry. Let me go back. I'm going to throw in a couple of more things into chat here. But as I wrap us all up here, I want to share with you a couple of more articles. This one right here in chat, that's hopefully coming through, are 5 steps to integrate AI into your actual program, and it's created by ISTE. Here's another one that I've shared before, but I'll share here. This is an ISTE guide for secondary. Here's another guide. Sorry, I'm just going to throw all these tools out. Here you go. There's another guide about how to prompt engineer with elementary students and how to use activities. Or if you're an independent consultant and you're like, how do I use AI to make money on the side? Well, there's a manual for that. I'm throwing in profitable side hustles by utilizing AI. My children create coloring sheets using AI and sell those coloring sheets. So that's another opportunity. The whole thing about AI, though, is the potential is unlimited. So we've just scratched the surface. And I will definitely send all of this to email to the foundations team as they publish everything that we've shared today, so that you can get them, everybody who is unable maybe to download them can get all these resources. But as I wrap up for time, if I was to say, don't be afraid of AI, but also be conscientious of the fallacies of AI, which is what AJ and Shanika and I will be talking about in our next talk show, which is coming up September 18th. We're going to be talking about, the equity issue in AI, the have and have nots, the how did Shanika and AJ get to where they are today in their upbringing, and where do they think we're going forward. Thank you for taking time with me. I do apologize that AJ got sick, but we wish him a great recovery. But thank you to Andrew and Tiana and the Foundations team for continuing our show. I hope that you all will join us at Beyond School Hours in beautiful Orlando, where they're building a whole new theme park called Epic Universe for Universal. Don't know that it'll be open yet. I don't think so, but you can see it, and maybe they'll discount the tickets on the other one. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you'll join us where you'll learn more about AI, but more importantly, you'll learn about how to use these tools with the kids that we serve every day. Because at the end of the day, we want to share these amazing things with them so that they lead us into the future. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you so much, Shawn, and thanks everyone for joining us. I really want to, just express how I'm happy that we had a good time together on the show. And as folks are saying, they really are happy for the tools and resources that you've shared that they can use, to make life much easier as we work towards, improving outcomes for our students and, getting them where they ought to be, and to provide optimal teaching and learning experiences for them. So thanks for coming, and I'd like to encourage you to take a moment to complete the brief survey about our session. I shared the link several times in the chat. We really want to hear from you as to how we can improve and continue to provide you with great content, great resources, and just give you a space where you can come and share as well on the Beyond the Conference webinar series. So we value your feedback, and our aim is to really meet your needs. And so as you provide that feedback using that link I shared before, we will take that and use that to inform planning for future sessions. Even as what Shawn mentioned, we'll be back with you on September 18th with Shanika and also AJ to dig a little deeper and to look at how do we balance that on that beam and provide opportunities for all our students, no matter where they may be. Just a reminder that a certificate of attendance will be sent within a week to all those who attended live, and we hope you'll be able to join us for the next session. And thank you so much for being with us, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.